you. Have a seat. All right, we're back on the record. Parties are present, ready to resume. Before we do that, however, though, I want to put on the record that I've ordered a separation of witnesses under Evidence Rule 615, and order that any witnesses the parties anticipate calling to testify not hear any of the testimony of the other witnesses. We have this kind of unique situation here where there's live streaming taking place. Just want to put that on the record before we proceed any further. I've communicated this with the attorneys. Any issues to address with regard to this order before we proceed?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
All right.
Let's see then. Mr. Murphy, you are next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state would call Dr. Lee.
Swear testimony is about to give this case not being the truth, told truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Proceed. Can you state your full name and spell your last name, please, for reference?
Dr. Charles Jeffrey Lee, L.E.
Thank you, Doctor.
You may inquire.
Thank you. Doctor, if you could introduce yourself and tell us what your background, education, training is.
Okay, my name is Dr. Lee. I'm the forensic pathologist at the Licking County Coroner's Office. I've been here about 25 years now. I graduated from Ohio University College of Osteopathic Medicine in 1992, then did a one-year rotating internship at Flint Osteopathic Hospital in Flint, Michigan from 92 to 93, and then I did a 4-year hospital pathology residency at the Beaumont Hospital in Royal Oak, Michigan, just outside of Detroit. That would have been from 93 to 97. And then I did a 1-year forensic fellowship specialty training program at the Medical University of South Carolina in Charleston from 97 to 98. Then I worked for 2 years at the Richmond, Virginia Medical Examiner's Office.
And, sir, do you have any publications?
I have a few from several years ago when I was in training, nothing recent.
Teaching?
A little bit, yes. I teach at COTC once a year, some other high schools, and some local colleges in the area. I like once a year, what does a coroner do, what's a forensic pathologist, kind of a general thing, I don't teach a program or anything like that.
Sir, are you familiar with this case involving State of Ohio versus Jacob McDonald?
Yes.
Sir, my understanding is that you have coroner reports, death certificates, as well as your curriculum vitae for 6 deceased individuals.
That's right.
And they're marked States Exhibit A through F. I think we have a stipulation on those.
Yes.
So I won't ask you about them other than they're as what they seem to be. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. I want to direct your opinion, though, in the book in front of you to States Exhibit number 9. And I'm also going to ask you to look in the back of the exhibit book in the sleeve there, States Exhibit number 10. But turning your attention first to States Exhibit number 9.
Okay, I see 9 and 10, yes.
Okay. Sir, what is States Exhibit number 9?
It is a letter from me to you, actually, from July of last year. It is, I wrote the letter to you after I reviewed the medical records from Mr. McDonald's stint in the emergency room on that day of November 14th.
And that's States Exhibit number 10?
That's 9, is my letter
Right,
to
the
you.
actual medical records. Though.
Oh.
It's in the back sleeve.
Yes, the first few pages look very familiar, yes.
Okay. And sir, what was the request placed to you?
To see if there was any evidence of a medical condition that Mr. McDonald may have had that could have made him less attentive at the wheel that day.
Was one of those conditions diabetes?
Yes.
And sir, what was the background or the information provided in those medical records regarding the defendant and diabetes?
He had had diabetes for a while. He was being treated with medication, not insulin, and he had a finger stick number of 173 or so on the scene by the EMTs, and then they drew his blood once in the ER, and his number was 156.
Okay. And sir, are you familiar with the treatment of this, I'm going to call it a disease?
Yes, in general.
Okay. Are those numbers outside the bounds of acceptability?
Not acceptability, no. They're a little high compared to what you want. If you're treating someone with diabetes, you would like to have it lower, and I think the normal for the hospital was 80 to 100, but you certainly would like it no more than 120 or 130 on a regular basis.
Okay. And from the information that you had, were you able to form an opinion as to whether or not diabetes or some other medical condition may have contributed or caused the collision that occurred in this particular case?
Yes, I didn't find anything in the records, including the diabetes, that would have caused him to be what I would think is less than conscious, unconscious, certainly not completely alert. With the high blood sugars, you tend to get jittery at numbers that are even a little higher than this. At this level, I wouldn't expect there to be much symptoms or signs from him or from anyone with those levels.
And I'm assuming that you've offered an expert opinion in this court and the other court a few times.
Yes, many times.
And were you able to, from a review of the medical records of the defendant, as well as your knowledge and background and subject matter in this, form an opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty within your field of expertise?
Yes.
And what was that opinion, sir?
That there is no reason medically that I could see from the history documented in the medical records that Mr. McDonald wouldn't have been able to be alert and driving at an alert situation.
Thank you. No further questions.
Cross-examination?
I have no questions, Your Honor.
You referenced some numbers here. Are those like blood sugar numbers?
Blood sugar numbers, yes. Sorry if I didn't say that.
Okay, I don't think you were asked, but you characterized them as a little high.
A little bit high, yes.
Okay,
They did not give him anything for treatment in the emergency room for those numbers.
all right. Follow up, Mr. Murphy?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Thank you, Doctor. You may step down.
Okay.
Your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. This day we call Josh Chica. Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Solemnly swear the testimony that you're about to give this case now being heard is the truth, told truth, nothing but the truth, so be God. MC, can you state your full name, spell your last name, please, for the record?
Joshua Henry Chica, Chieka.
Thanks.
You may inquire.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, my name is Cliff Murphy. We've talked by phone a few times. I don't think I ever met you in person. But I wanted to talk to you about the events that occurred on November 14, 2023. Do you recall that morning?
Yes, sir.
And, sir, what do you do professionally?
I'm a truck driver.
And how long have you been a truck driver?
About 3 years.
Okay. And were you a truck driver on November 14, 2023?
Yes, sir.
And what kind of licensure do you have?
I have my CDL, hazmat, all the endorsements.
In a class?
Class A.
Okay. And, sir, when you say that you have all the endorsements, hazmat, what does that mean?
I could drive tanker. I I could haul tanker, doubles, triples, hazardous material, things like that.
Okay. And sir, how did you get to that point that you have those certifications?
I just went and took the test, studied for the testing, and pursued all this.
And how did you get your Class A?
I went to school
How long did you go to school?
about 3 months, I believe.
Okay. And you indicated that you've been driving about 3 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Going back to November 14th, 2023, were you on state or interstate route 70?
Yes,
My understanding is that you were on the eastern side
correct,
of that, not the western side.
correct.
Okay. And sir, what drew your attention to what was going on the western side of the roadway?
Well, there was an accident up front, and there was traffic just stopped on it would have been the westbound lane, and I just kind of rubbernecking, and then
Stopped or rubbernecking?
I was rubbernecking going by the first exit. Then I seen that there was a bus that was on fire, and I noticed that there was nobody off of that bus.
Okay.
For some reason, I don't know why I stopped, and pulled my tractor trailer to the side of the road and proceeded to cross the highway. And that's roughly about the time that the children started leaving the bus.
Okay. And sir, why were the children, if you knew, leaving the bus?
Because it was on fire.
Okay. And sir, were you able to discern why the bus was on fire?
Because the tractor trailer truck hit the back of the bus.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked State's Exhibit 22.
It's an addition. Thank you.
Are you familiar with State's Exhibit number 22?
Yes, sir.
And just not to give the ballot a hard time, is this the bus that you're referring to?
Yes, sir.
Now, is that the semi that you're referring to?
Yes, sir.
It appears that the front passenger wheel of the actual semi is off the ground.
Correct.
Is that the condition that you had observed it?
Yes, but I was so worried about the kids and that there was flames in the back, I didn't even notice that the flames hadn't even hit the bus at that time, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So this may have been a little bit before I actually arrived, this photo in particular. I'm guessing
I don't want you to guess.
oh,
Was the truck on fire?
yes,
Is that how the truck generally appeared?
yes,
Bus was probably in better condition than it looks like there.
yes.
Okay. When you arrived, you indicated the bus was on fire?
Yes, I did, but
Okay.
yeah.
Tell us what you did when you arrived.
I ran to the front of the bus and I noticed that there were students getting off of the bus. There was a little girl that had a broken leg, I believe, and they all started huddling in the front of the bus where the door was. I asked the children, I said, you should probably get away from that. There was a little girl that was in crutches. I asked her if I could pick her up. She said, yes, sir. I picked her up. I brought her, guessing about 50 yards, somewhere further away from the flames. At that point, I heard somebody say that there was still children on the bus. And this is where it gets a little grainy for me. I don't know what child I took off first, but I recall running in there, grabbing a child, dragging the child out, going back in and grabbing one more child and bringing that child out.
How was the interior of the bus, smoke-wise?
It was smoky, extremely smoky.
Any difficulty breathing in there?
Yes, I had a very difficult time with
At some point in time, did you see another student hanging from a window?
Yes, sir.
Walk us through what happened with that.
I heard somebody in the back of, it was the second child, I can't say if it was Brennan or the other young boy, but I remember yelling in the back, I promise I'll be back to get you, buddy. At that time, I heard somebody yell, jump, jump, jump. I got back off the bus in the front, and I was catching my breath is when I heard that. So I ran to the other side, the opposite side of the bus, and I seen a child hanging out by his foot. At that time, I pulled the kid, and he goes, ow. I go, what do I do? He goes, lift me up, sir. So I lifted him up, and he ended up getting his foot unstuck, and I helped him down to the ground. And I remember just putting him in front of me as we were moving away from the bus.
At some point in time, did you help Trooper Grimm with the person who was in an SUV?
Yes.
Okay, talk to us about that.
I wish I could be more clear on the time periods, but everything was happening so fast, my adrenaline was going. I ran behind a trooper. He was talking to a gentleman inside of a vehicle. As the trooper went towards the back of the vehicle, I reached my hand in and helped the older gentleman out of that vehicle. At that time, somebody else took him, and I just proceeded to walk away.
Sir, you suffered some injuries from this?
You know, the only injuries I really suffered was a burn on my right arm, very small. And I went to the hospital because I had trouble breathing. I had a severe headache at the end of that.
Okay. In terms of driving truck, do you drive a standard or do you drive automatic?
I actually drive both. At the time that the accident happened, I only drove a standard, but since that time of the accident, I've actually been put into an automatic, strictly an automatic.
Okay. What's the difference?
Shifting through gears, and so on and so forth.
Is driving an automatic easier on the driver?
Oh yeah.
Why is that?
So all you do is step on the gas and go, and step on the brake, and it's not, you're not controlling the gears.
Okay. In terms of the automatic, are you familiar with an exhaust brake?
Yes.
Tell us what that is.
It's a switch. There's 1 through 3 settings, and what it does is it opens up the valves and introduces air exhaust into the motor to help slow down the vehicle when you're moving.
Okay. Does that happen with the pressing on the brake, or does that happen, pre-driving?
You don't have to step on the brake. You lit off if your Jake brake is engaged, you lit off of the fuel and the Jake brake will kick in.
Okay. And in terms of the purpose of the exhaust brake, is that to, obviously it doesn't increase the fuel mileage, because I would imagine you're not able to coast then.
No, you can't coast.
So what's the purpose of?
Slowing the vehicle down, so you're not running, so you're not riding your brakes, heating your brakes up. It slows your vehicle down.
And just out of curiosity, if I have that engaged, if I have that on, whether it's by switch or some other way, just by taking my foot off the gas, so to speak, I understand it's diesel,
Yeah.
The truck would brake, would slow down.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Yet the vehicle was so equipped.
Yes.
Okay. And so, are you familiar with the 2019 Freightliner model, or?
I'm familiar with that model. I've never driven one.
Okay, so you don't know how it works on that particular truck?
I mean, they're all pretty much similar.
Okay. Well, then, if I was driving down State Route 70 on a flat, level ground where the sun's to my back and I'm sitting at an elevated position and I can see everything in front of me, and I took my foot off the gas or the accelerator pedal, whatever you want to call it, and did absolutely nothing else, what would that vehicle do?
It starts slowing down.
Okay. Noticeably?
Yeah, oh yeah. Especially if you're in third, you're in Jake's on high.
Have you ever had to stop a semi on the quick?
Yes.
What kind of circumstances?
Just when there's vehicles, you know,
Cut in front of you?
cut in front of me, somebody slams on their brakes to avoid something, yes.
Okay. What is the stopping ability of one of these semis?
I would say at 65 miles,
What's your objection?
He's not an expert on the stopping ability of semis, he's a truck driver. You're
You
getting
can
into
explore his background, but so far you haven't laid a foundation for it. Expert testimony.
I'm not as an expert, Your Honor, lay witness with additional knowledge. He's testified that, you know, he has the prior training, he has the credentials, he has the additional experience.
He says he's been driving the truck for 3 years.
yes, sir.
Your Honor, he said he's not familiar with the 2019 Freightliner. He can only
Sustained
speak
at
to his
this
truck.
point. Sustained at this point. If you can lay additional foundation, go ahead.
Sure. On your particular truck, what truck do you actually drive on a day-to-day, sir?
The one I drive is in between a Kenworth, a 2023 or 2024 Kenworth Peterbilt, and I have operated not Freightliners,
International?
internationals.
Okay. And is that how those systems work
Yes,
in those vehicles?
yes.
So if somebody cut in front of me and I took my foot off the accelerator, would my vehicle, under any of those vehicles, come to a faster stop than if I did nothing?
Can you repeat that again?
Sure. If my foot's on the accelerator, what's going to happen with the vehicle?
It's going to speed up.
Okay, up until the maximum that it's covered.
Correct.
Okay? If I take my foot off, you previously testified that it would drop.
Correct.
And I think you used quite quickly.
Yes.
Okay? If you saw a vehicle pull in front of you, would you be able to bring your semi to a quick stop?
Absolutely.
What kind of distances are we talking about?
At 65 miles an hour, I think I could bring my truck to a complete stop within 150 yards to 200 yards, absolutely maximum. But as being a professional truck driver, I would be putting that truck into a ditch before I hit a vehicle.
Okay. Well, let me ask the question a different way without asking you whether or not you're going to put it in ditch or anything else. Sir, assume for the sake of argument you had 800 feet.
Okay.
Is that something that you'd be able to bring that vehicle to a stop if you were actually watching?
Yes.
Thank you. No further questions.
Cross-examination?
You just testified that you put your truck in the ditch before you would hit something.
Correct.
So how much does your truck weigh when it's loaded?
I'm hauling heavy up to 100,000 pounds, but without permits, about 80,000
It's
pounds.
not real maneuverable, is it?
No.
So if you saw a quick braking event occur in front of you, you wouldn't be able to hit that truck in a ditch, would you?
Absolutely, I'd be able to.
If a car was several feet in front of you?
No.
Okay. So you'd need a considerable amount of distance to be alerted to that stopping event in order to maneuver your vehicle, correct?
I would say 100 to 150 feet.
150 feet to maneuver.
Yeah, by the time I recognized what was going on and proceeded to remove that vehicle from the roadway, yes.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that these Jake brakes, they have variable speeds. You said that 1 through 3, is that what you said? So does that give us a variable on how much it works? So in other words, it has three variables. Is it variable 1 give us a certain degree of slowing down, and variable 2 even more, and variable 3 even more?
Yes.
Okay. And is that something that the driver sets?
Yes.
Okay. And to your knowledge, are all Jake brakes like that?
To my knowledge, yes.
Okay. And your knowledge is limited to the International and the Kenworth? Is that what?
And Petersville.
And Peterbilt? Did I
Yes.
say Kenworth? Did I make that up? Or
No, Kenworth also.
Okay. So, how much weight were you pulling that day?
I was empty that day when that actually occurred. When I was loaded going to Pixel to drop off my load, I was about 80,000 pounds.
You're about 80,000 pounds. Have you ever, when you had the 80,000 pounds just for a test, locked up your brakes as hard as you could to see how far it takes you to stop?
No.
That would
Just,
be-
I mean, just not to test that out. That's
Yeah.
not something that you would.
How about on I-70? Have you ever done that?
I've had vehicles stop, pull in front of me, stop. Yes, I've had this.
Have you hit your brakes to where you came to a complete stop? Just jammed on the brakes as hard as you could?
Not as I recall.
Okay.
Not on I-70.
So you haven't really performed any tests to tell us how far it takes to actually stop?
Well, I mean, not on I-70, but I mean, on different highways, absolutely. You've been cut off, you have to slow
I
down.
didn't ask you if you've been caught off on other highways. I've asked you if you've ever performed a test to determine how long it takes to stop a truck with 80,000 pounds of weight.
No.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Thank you. Sir, we're not talking about testing, we're talking about the real world. Have you done it in the real world,
Yes.
where lives mattered?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.
Rick Ross?
In those real world events, as I just asked you, you've never locked up the brakes completely to come to a complete stop, have you?
I have locked up my brakes to not hit things. Yes, I have.
No, that's not what I asked you. I asked you, on the highway, have you locked up your brakes, jammed on them, I believe that's exactly what I said, and came to a complete stop when you were 80,000 pounds heavy?
I've never came to a complete stop on the highway locking.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. Your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. This day we call Trooper James Coughlin.
Case now being heard, truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Yes. You say your full name, spell your last name, please, for record, truth.
James Coughlin, C-O-F-F-L-A-N-D.
Big truth.
You may inquire.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Trooper.
Good afternoon.
Sir, where are you currently employed at?
Currently, State Highway Patrol. I'm assigned to the academy in Columbus.
Okay. And what do you do at the academy?
I'm an instructor.
And what do you instruct?
How to be a trooper, police officer in the state of Ohio. All the duties: crash, defensive tactics, driving, firearms, traffic stops, traffic law, criminal law.
Okay. And sir, how long have you been an Ohio State Highway Patrol trooper?
Just over 10 years.
Okay. And sir, do you have any training as a DRE?
I do.
What is your training, sir, in that?
Drug recognition expert. It's an extra training you go to, so you have standardized field sobriety. You have to have what you get in the academy. That's a 40-hour week with a practical application. Then you have a post-grad. So after we get done with our FTO training phase, we go through A-ROD, which is just more drug interdiction on the side of the road. And then after you have 5 years on, you can apply to be a drug recognition expert. And then you go through 3-week course, 2 weeks of our classroom, and then you have a week of practical that you have to do where you, that is, you learn how to detect drug impairment. There's 7 different categories that you have to look at. There's all kinds of just more in-depth standardized field sobriety that you get trained on.
Is it legal drugs or illegal drugs or both?
It's both, any drugs.
And what are some of the things that you would observe as a DRE for someone who is suspected to be under the influence?
Well, it depends on the drug category. But some of the, like, for instance, for like depressants, you would look at like slow or slurred speech. So like alcohol, think alcohol. If you've ever seen them when it's impaired on alcohol, alcohol is a depressant. So you look at blurred, watery eyes, glassy bloodshot eyes, slow slurred speech, lethargic movements, maybe a sway about their person. Then you have stimulants, which is like cocaine, amphetamines, methamphetamine. That's someone who's real rigid, very, very hyperactive. Then you have narcotics, when the pupils will be pinpoint. They'll be kind of what's called on the nod, almost look like they're sleeping. So there's different drug categories that you look at. Marijuana, you have glassy bloodshot eyes, lethargic movements, very laid back demeanor about their person. These are all just different things you look at.
Okay, so you're looking for something that would be out of the ordinary that you'd expect to see on someone who's not
Correct.
impaired.
Correct.
Okay. And sir, how long have you been a DRE expert with the State Highway Patrol?
I went through DRE school in 2019.
Okay. And so I'm assuming then that if you went through in 2019, you were so certified on Tuesday, November 14, 2023.
I was.
Okay. And sir, did you participate in an investigation of a collision that occurred on Interstate 70 near milepost 118 in the westbound lane in Licking County, Ohio?
I did.
Okay. And sir, could you tell the court what your participation was in that investigation?
I was assigned to the Lancaster post, which is just south of the Greenville post. I knew that they had a serious crash going on 70, and it was kind of an all hands on deck. I used to work at the Greenville post, so I called Lieutenant Vollmer and asked him if he needed any assistance. And then he asked me to go to Grant Hospital to make contact with Mr. McDonald, who was the driver of the semi. Most importantly, you want to make sure there wasn't any impairment or anything like that.
Okay. And again, impairment can be drugs, can be non-drugs, just some level of alteration.
Correct.
Okay. And do you see Mr. McDonald in the courtroom here today?
Yes, he's sitting with the defense.
And I ask the record reflect the witnesses identify the defendant.
Sir, reflect.
Now, sir, in 2023, November 14th, did you have access to a body-worn camera?
I did.
Okay, and sir, were you wearing that body-worn camera when you had that interaction with Mr. McDonald?
I did.
Okay, I'm going to show you what has been marked, and I apologize. It's State's Exhibit number 11. I believe this starts at about 117, so I'm going to just move it up to 117-ish. Who was with you for this?
Gentleman right there, Sergeant Matheny, Sergeant Matheny.
Jacob.
And Trooper Dewars.
How you feeling?
Also known as Sergeant.
As good as you can be, huh? I'm Trooper Coughlin with the patrol, obviously. That's Trooper Matson, Trooper Dewerson. Just come and check on you. Ask you some questions. All right. Do you know? Can you remember what happened?
I can't even remember any. The first thing I remember, the only thing I remember, is seeing fire outside of my truck.
Okay.
And that's the only thing I remember. I don't remember anything right before that. I don't remember any kind of anything before that or anything. I just remember fire going on in the truck.
Just remember that's all you remember. Do you remember any vehicles that were in front of you? Do you remember any vehicles around you?
I don't remember it. I was driving down the road. I know that. I left the house this morning. And I was driving down the road, and next thing I remember, it's like I just woke up and I seen fire outside my truck. That's the only thing I remember. And then I was like, I gotta get out of this truck. And I pulled the handle on the door and it opened. So I kind of rolled out of the truck and I seen all kinds of stuff going on.
Okay.
And I seen there was a red something, I don't know what it was, but a red SUV out of the satellite, and there was a man in it, and I tried to get him out, and I started hollering for some people to come over there because they would say he was still in it. The fire, of course, at that point, it was really bad in the truck because I could feel the heat. And they told me to get over to the side.
That's about it.
Yeah. So,
Do you remember, so you don't remember, did you hit your head at all during the crash, do you know?
I don't know.
Did you have your seatbelt on?
Yes, I
You
did.
did? So you did.
So I probably didn't hit my head. I mean,
Do you have any medical conditions or anything? Are you diabetic or
I am
epileptic or
diabetic.
anything like that?
I am a diabetic.
You are?
diabetic. I take metformin.
Okay.
So,
Was your sugar, do you know if your sugar was low or anything like that, or?
not that I know of.
Okay.
I mean,
Was your medical card your medical card's good for your CDL?
yes.
Okay. When was your last exam?
It's been less than a year ago. I don't remember, right off, but it's been definitely less than a year.
How you got every year?
Because I've been taking it. Well, they made me take it. They said I didn't have to take it back in a year. That's how I know it's been less than a year ago.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly when, but
All right.
What was the last moment that you do remember while driving? Do you remember where you were at?
I remember. Let's see, the last moment I remember when I was driving. Our yard is at 126, and I was past it.
So you're past the
I'm pretty
126?
sure I was past the 126.
Okay. Which direction were you heading?
I was headed westbound.
Westbound?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
westbound.
Do you travel that route often?
Every day.
Every day?
Yeah, every other day. I go from Ohio to Pennsylvania, Marysville, Ohio to Pennsylvania.
Okay. What were you hauling?
Batteries.
What kind?
Honda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just the little small batteries that you put up in the front?
In cars.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many do you have?
I had, there was 8, 2, and 2. There was 12 pounds total.
12 pallets. How many is typically in a pallet?
I'm not even sure.
Oh, okay. Do you know the approximate weight that you were running?
Probably maybe 15, 16 pounds.
Okay. Roughly 16,000?
I'd say, just rough estimate. I'm not sure
Okay.
exactly.
What time did you leave Marysville?
Well, I didn't leave Marysville. I left my house.
Oh.
I was going to Marysville.
Okay.
Yeah. But I left my house this morning. Shoot, I don't know. I don't even know what time I was when I left the house. It was, I would say it was probably around between 8 and 8:30.
8 and 8:30.
Yeah.
Where do you live at?
In Zanesville.
Zanesville?
What's your address?
It's 2230 Adamsville Road, Zanesville, Ohio. One of y'all has my driver's license. Or
Oh, okay.
One of the cops on
Yeah.
the scene.
We weren't on scene. They're still out there with it. So.
Okay.
So what lane do you typically travel in?
Right, like,
Right lane? Do you ever get over to the left, or do you recall ever getting over to the left, or were you right lane the entire time?
I think I was in the right lane pretty much the entire time.
Okay.
I mean, from what I remember, I was in
Yeah.
the right lane.
So when you were at, you said it was the 126 is what you remember last?
I remember that.
when you were at the 126, do you remember what was in front of you, around you, anything along those lines?
There wasn't a lot of traffic
Yeah.
at that point. I don't remember a lot of the traffic being.
Alright.
What's at the 126? Do you know?
Yeah, the truck stops, because that's where our yard is. The truck stops, and our yard right up the road from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you didn't stop at the yard? You're driving from your house up to Mary's
That's
Yard?
where it is.
Okay.
And then I always go back to the yard and went back.
So you were empty now? You were getting...
No, I had batteries.
Oh, okay.
Loaded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when did you pick up the batteries?
Yesterday in Thompson, PA.
Okay. And then you drove them to your house for overnight?
Yeah, I go by the house, and I go on down to Marysville.
Yeah. Did you do your pre-trip?
Yes, sir.
All right. Was there any issues that you found or anything like that on your pre-trip?
No issue.
Okay. Is that your truck or is that a company vehicle?
Company.
Okay.
Was the air was good the whole time? Like for your brakes and everything?
Yeah, I had no problem, no issues with it.
So you don't remember anything after the 126 at all?
Well, I don't remember anything that stood out. I mean, I don't remember how much further I went.
Yeah.
I don't really remember. I guess you'd say I don't remember it at 120.
Right.
Because it's kind of weird. I mean, I don't know where it happened. I don't know where it happened. So if it happened on down.
I'm not sure which mile marker.
118, right for Amazon.
Well,
Big
it went
buildings.
away since then.
310,
Yeah.
just past 310, stay around 310.
Yeah, I know about where it's at.
How much sleep did you get last night?
Like, I mean, I went to bed.
Are you a good sleeper or I wake up tonight, so.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I'm a good sleeper because I'm really not. I mean, I sleep. Usually when if I get 4 or 5 hours sleep, I feel good.
Yeah.
And I felt good this morning when I left.
Yeah.
Did you eat breakfast?
No, I didn't eat anything.
Did you eat anything for breakfast?
No.
Did you have anything? Cup of coffee, tea?
Just I had water.
Some water?
Yeah, some water.
The medicine that you're on, if you take it on an empty stomach, does it make you nauseous or anything?
No, it normally don't bother me at all.
Yeah.
That's what's scary.
Have you ever had periods before where you've traveled up to 8 miles without remembering anything, or
Not that I can remember, no.
how long have you been driving for?
About 20 years.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever been involved in a wreck before?
Nothing more than minor. I had a truck hit me.
Yeah.
Nothing major.
Do you have, I was going to say, I had a question right on top of my head there. Can't think of it.
A sleeper berth, or is it just day cab?
Sleeper. It's a sleeper.
So you don't remember anything pertaining to any kind of collisions or anything? You just...
No. I mean, I'm trying to think. No, I remember the fire.
Yeah.
That was to my right, or coming from over on my right side. I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I remember.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to provide a voluntary urine sample?
Sure. I ain't got nothing to hide.
Other than the medicine,
Yeah,
nothing?
sure, I'm all
These things.
Yeah. So I'm,
Do you want to mute it?
You can mute it, but you can't.
I was about to turn it off.
LT just called.
yeah, I ain't got nothing to hide.
All right, then. Okay. I'll get it. Are you able to go to the bathroom right now, or do you need to?
I'm probably am, but they just took a bunch. I mean, I probably can't.
All right, I'll get with the nurse and we'll get it figured out.
I can't move right now. I mean, where I'm
You're pretty strapped down there.
You don't remember how fast you were going or anything like that, or if you were distracted by anything?
I'm probably doing about, well, the last I remember, I was doing close to 70. But I don't normally, I mean, I set the cruise usually, but I don't even know. I must have probably hit my brakes a few times between time then and there, you'd think. If I had it set on 70, I'd already unset that sucker.
Do you remember the last vehicle that was in front of you?
No, I really can't say that.
No. Do you remember if there were any vehicles that were next to you at any point?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure there were at times, but that's what got it so freaked out at all.
Okay. Did you take your metformin this morning? You don't think you did? Do you normally take it in the morning?
I take it in the morning.
Take the pill?
What's the milligram?
I'm not sure.
Do you normally not eat breakfast in the morning? Or you normally do eat breakfast?
I normally don't.
You normally don't?
No.
Okay. I'm not a big breakfast person myself, so it's usually me if it's a cup of coffee.
On the weekend, I may eat it. That's about it.
What was the name of your medicine again? What was the name of your medicine again? Metformin?
Yeah.
You're talking about
Yeah. Do you take anything else regularly?
I take Sandra Erland for my blood pressure.
Did you take that this morning?
No, I take it at night.
You take it at night? Okay.
And I took it last night.
Okay.
What's the name of that?
The Sandra Erland thing.
What is it?
Lisinopril? Is that right?
Something like that. I don't know if that's the exact pronunciation, but
How old are you, sir?
60.
60?
Yeah.
So that's for your blood pressure? You
Yeah.
take it at night?
Yeah. There's two of them that's on my blood pressure.
So you take lisinopril
And there's another one for my triglycerides. It's called,
if you
something with an A.
For your, what is it for?
For
cholesterol. Takes a cholesterol.
my triglycerides. And that's not the triglycerides.
Name of this company.
The company that you drive for, what's the name of it?
Mid-state.
Mid-State? Is it Mid-State Systems? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure y'all probably seen it.
It's familiar. I had one of their trucks on the side of the road not too long ago.
It happens, right?
She said she'd call back if she had more questions.
He said he'll give a volunteer. So if your blood pressure in the past has ever dropped, do you usually like get kind of disoriented and not know what's going on, or
I've never had that.
have you ever had your blood sugar drop and you're like you don't know what's going on?
No, I haven't.
If you normally don't take your is it metformin? If you normally don't take your metformin, do you have any reactions that you
I've
know?
never had a reaction. Now, I have checked it before, and sometimes it'd be a little high if I didn't take it. But I've never had any kind of reaction.
Okay.
How long have you been on the metformin?
Oh, a few
A
years.
few years. Same thing with the blood pressure medication. You've been taking that for a while.
Yeah.
About what? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years?
Well, with the blood pressure medication that he got me, I've probably been on it for about a year, maybe.
A year, maybe?
That's the least it is.
Is it the same dosage you've been taking the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Just loud out there, so.
She's having a bad day?
Yeah.
You don't remember feeling any impacts or anything like that? Like anything from the front or the back or side?
Have they ran you through some scans here?
Yeah, they're in through a body scan here.
Have they told you anything, or?
They told me I wasn't going to be able to get this off for about 30, 45 minutes.
Yeah, okay. Is anything hurting on you?
Lower back a little bit, but that's about it. I really weren't hurt that much.
Yeah.
I mean, I was sore at when I got out of the truck, I felt like.
You say you did have your seatbelt on, though, right?
Yeah, I did have.
Does your truck have airbags?
It's a newer truck, so you'd think it would.
Were they deployed, do you remember?
I don't think they were. I don't remember no airbags.
So this is going to be kind of a stupid question, but when you got out of the truck was stopped, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely it was stopped.
Did you turn it off?
I did.
You remember turning it off?
I remember reaching down because I was like, let me turn this thing off. I don't even know if it was on, but I physically turned the key off.
Okay. Is it a manual or automatic?
Automatic.
Did you put it in park?
It should have automatically went to park when I turned it off, but no, it didn't.
Okay.
I mean, not.
Okay.
That trucks are kind of weird.
Right. Especially with
I used to
all the electronics.
a standard truck.
Right.
Up until about a year ago when I got that one. That's the first automatic I ever drove. But
And not knowing, is the gear selector like a standard knob, like a vehicle knob?
no, it's in neutral normally.
Okay.
And to get it to go into drive or reverse, you gotta push the brake and push the knob down or up or down.
Okay. So it's like a tractor more so with the,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So you remember seeing the red SUV when you got out of the...
I do remember seeing a red SUV beside me.
Do you remember seeing any other semis or bus, like a charter bus or anything like that?
I remember seeing it was in front of me.
The charter bus was in front of you?
I didn't even see me.
Do you remember seeing, so you saw the red SUV, you saw the charter bus, do you remember seeing a vehicle between your truck and the charter bus at all, or
Just the side.
just that red one?
Yeah.
So you don't remember anything between your truck and the charter bus, right?
Your truck.
And they were all on fire?
The truck was on fire.
Your truck was on fire and the charter bus? Or,
I don't remember. The charter bus was on fire later, I think. I don't know if it was on fire then or not. I'm not sure. I do remember seeing it after I'd gotten out and was standing there at the rear end of the charter bus on fire.
Were your fuel tanks, were they full, empty, half?
Probably a little under half.
Little under half?
Yeah, because I hadn't been to the yard. I always fuel at the yard on the way back.
Yeah.
So they were probably a little under half.
So you run diesel, not compressed natural gas?
Yes, it's
Diesel.
diesel.
Did you run single side saddle or did you dual saddle? You saddle one of your truck or just one? Both sides.
Did anybody say anything to you, or did you hear anybody talk anything about the crash as soon as you got out?
No.
Okay.
Nobody even come over to me until I got away from the truck. And I seen this guy in there, and he was telling me, get me up, get me up. to him, and I thought, well, I have to get up, but I was there. And I was like trying to, I said, he hurt.
I guess.
Sorry.
I was checking on your pain or anything, so.
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
He said, ask him, could you use the bathroom, because I think I can now.
Okay.
But, what was I saying?
Anybody say anything to you? You said there was a guy that was trying to get you.
Yeah, I went to the guy, and I said, I'll try to get you out, and I couldn't. And I went out and I started hollering, there's a guy in that car, and I knew I was getting hot in the truck. I said, there's a guy in this car, and some people come over then, and they said, you need to get over there, and they got him out.
Okay.
The guy in the red SUV?
Yeah.
Do you know how many vehicles were involved total? Yeah.
The red SUV, was it next to your truck?
It was inside of my truck.
Underneath your truck? Was it just sitting there
It
beside
was
your
sitting
truck?
there beside my truck.
Had it been hit?
It been hit.
Driver's side of your truck?
I'm not sure whether it was.
Of your truck?
Oh, my truck?
Yeah.
So it was to the side, it wasn't to
It
the,
was to the side of my
to the, okay.
And it was kind of, when you got out of your door, it was a little bit behind the door frame, so like by your duals?
Yeah, exactly, like duals, you're probably about right.
Do you remember how damaged it was? Do you remember what kind of damage it had?
No,
Like you couldn't open the door.
I opened it, his passenger door.
Okay, you got the passenger.
I went around the truck and got in his passenger side
Okay.
and was trying to get him out.
But there was damage to his driver's door?
I don't even know. I honestly didn't see the driver's door. When I come out, I come around because it was a little behind me. I come around the passenger door. I think it wasn't damaged. I opened it up. And he was it was kind of weird because I asked him, was he the driver? Because he was in the passenger side of the car. Partially.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's kind of over the center console?
Yeah, he was his seat was on this side of the center console.
Okay. On the passenger?
On the passenger side. And that's what kind of weird. And I asked him, are you okay? Are you going back? Because I wanted to know before I moved him, going back.
Right.
And he said, I think I'm all right. I just need to get up. And so I tried to help him up. And that's when he was the older guy.
Okay.
And that's when I hollered for help.
And he was the only one in the car?
Huh?
And
He was the only one in the car, and he said that I was standing beside him, or sitting beside him. Once he got over to the side and they asked him again, he said yes, he was the only one in the car.
Would you have noticed if there was driver's side damage on that vehicle?
Not the way I come around, I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Okay.
Because when I come out of the truck, I went away from the truck and
Yeah.
came around to the passenger side. Well, yeah, passenger side.
So was that car facing the same direction as your truck?
It's kind of weird because I was trying to think that when you said that. And I'm really, he was facing the opposite way as my truck, I think.
Okay.
Okay, so he was...
Because I came in, yeah, is that right? I'm not sure. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would think that if I had done that, it would have been his driver's side. That I was actually looking at the side that he should have been on.
Right.
So I might have been confused about that too.
Yeah.
So I'm really not sure about that.
Okay.
I'm trying to think, there's another one that I thought of, and it escaped me already.
Question.
Was his vehicle on like the zipper, or do you know like where it was in relation to the lane? Is it one?
It was like in the middle. It was like in the middle of the road.
Okay.
You know, like on the. He was on the left lane.
And the fast
Right,
lane?
I sure in the fast lane.
Yeah.
But I don't remember which way it swung, because I went around and I was thinking passenger side.
Okay. Is that a 2-lane section, or is it the split 2-lane, or so how many lanes were on your side of the road? Two, and then there's the shoulders.
Right.
Do you remember where your truck was in relation to that lane, and
My truck was to the right.
was it on the shoulder, or was it all the way in just that right lane?
At that point, I'm not really sure.
Okay.
You don't remember hitting your brakes or anything, or?
I don't remember anything.
You said traffic was pretty empty, pretty desolate out there. It wasn't heavy traffic.
Yeah, when the last I remember, it wasn't really heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last I remember.
Is it typically heavier than that normally on?
Yeah, I thought so, because I was like, I ain't a lot of people out here today. Because I remember earlier, thinking that ain't a lot of people out here today. But see, usually it gets worse as you get past that exit also. He had to be turned, the SUV
Yeah.
had to be turned
Facing the opposite way?
facing the opposite direction, because now that I think about it, he was turned in the back seat, like,
Yeah.
and so it had to be turned.
So he was almost all the way to the back.
Exactly, yeah.
Did you ask him his name or anything like that? Do you remember?
I did.
You said he was an older guy. Was he tall, short,
I'm shorter than I am.
shorter than you? How tall are you?
I'm 5'11".
Okay.
He's probably maybe 5'9",
Okay.
5'8".
Skinny little guy, or was he thick, or?
He was middle, probably.
Okay.
If you get them to give me yours, so I can take yours. I'm ready to
You muting my body camera. Admin.
His labs were sent off,
Yes, sir.
and they were negative for any drugs.
Yes, sir.
He doesn't remember hitting his brakes.
No, sir.
Doesn't remember anything past 126.
No, sir.
Doesn't remember the red 2006 Toyota Highlander.
No, sir.
Nothing. Did you see any? You conducted a view of him to determine whether he was under the influence of any drugs. Did you see any reaction that would be indicative of that he was either under the influence or abusing any kind of substance?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you see any signs or any indications that he was impaired for purposes of driving or anything else?
No, sir.
If you had stopped him on the highway and you were going to make a determination as to whether to have him conduct field sobriety testing in the condition that you observed him there, would you do so?
I would not.
I believe you asked him a two-part question about whether or not he was impaired at some point.
I understand. I don't remember specifically that.
With apologies, I won't pull that up. You also got a handwritten statement from him.
Yes, I questioned and I wrote because you had the pulse and ox on his finger, so.
Okay. I want you to look at the book in front of you. State's Exhibit number 12, please. Is this the statement that you had, that you were filling out in your notebook
Yes, sir.
at the time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you give that statement for signature to the defendant, in this case, Mr. McDonald?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, is this truly and accurately depict the conversation or portions of the conversations for the written part that you had with the defendant in this particular case?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Cross-examination.
Afternoon, Trooper Coughlin. Afternoon, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So in that body cam footage, clearly, Mr. McDonald, you were aware that he was part of the accident prior to going to the hospital, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you expected to see him in some type of a debilitated state, more or less?
I didn't know what to expect.
Okay.
I didn't know any injuries that he had, or I was just told to go make contact with him.
Had you seen the accident prior to going out there?
Negative.
Okay. So at the time, it tells you he can't really remember anything past 126, right?
Right. Leading up to the crash.
Well, I mean, you can't recall which side the damage was on the Highlander?
On that city, there's portions of it, you can't remember if that's.
Yeah.
Yes.
He doesn't remember whether or not his truck has a dash cam.
He didn't remember that.
Well, and initially he said he was going eastbound, then corrects himself and says westbound, right?
Correct.
And then he doesn't remember whether or not he took his medicine that morning.
Correct.
And he believes that he was pulling 16,000 pounds.
Objection as to what he believes.
He
Response.
told you that he was pulling 16,000
Okay,
pounds.
good.
That's what he stated.
And you performed a test to see whether or not he had drugs in the system, right? Illegal drugs.
Correct. It was a urine sample.
Right. And that came out negative, right?
Correct.
As well as alcohol.
Correct.
And when you asked him to take that test, he stated to you, I ain't got nothing to hide.
Correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Redirect.
Thank you. You were asked about portions he can remember or wants to tell you is probably the better way of saying that. Is that accurate?
Correct.
You don't know what he is trying to tell you. I mean, have you ever had people lie to you on the road?
All the time.
Why? Why do they lie to you on the roadway, sir?
Because they don't want to give you the full truth and hide stuff.
Okay. The gentleman doesn't know whether he hit the brakes. That's what he told you, right?
Correct.
He doesn't remember anything past the yard of 126. That's what he told you, right?
Correct.
He doesn't remember whether or not he hit the red truck, the SUV in front of him, right?
Correct.
He doesn't even mention anything about the silver Murano.
Correct.
He doesn't know or want to tell you anything. It's one or the other. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
And just so we understand, you're not familiar with what Dr. Lee testified in this particular case about nothing medically that would prevent him from knowing these things, are you?
No.
Okay. Did you see anything from his eyes or anything that showed that he had any kind of medical condition that you would be able to tell versus substance use or abuse or anything of that nature?
Nothing out of the norm.
So he told you what he decided to tell you and nothing else.
Yes, what he told me is what he told me.
Thank you.
Great Cross.
Have you worked accidents before?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have considerable experience working accidents?
Yes.
Have you dealt with a lot of individuals who've been injured in accidents?
Yes.
Have you seen horrific accidents?
Yes.
Have you talked to individuals who can't remember what happened during the accident?
Portions of them, yes.
Okay. And you're an authority figure, you would agree with that, correct?
Correct.
And oftentimes individuals want to please you because you're authority, you would agree with that?
Correct.
Yeah. And when you're discussing Mr. McDonald's memory after he wakes up and sees the fire, would you agree that he's trying to recall things for you?
He's trying to paint the picture, yes.
Yes. Because you spent, I don't know how many minutes, but you spent a fair bit of time on the red Toyota Highlander trying to determine which side he had gone around and which doors were open. Do you recall that?
The other troopers there, and I remember them talking about that.
Yes. While you were standing there, that part was being discussed, and he's trying to recall that. You would agree with me on that, would you?
Yes.
So this is an individual trying to assist you in your investigation, correct?
Objection. He has no idea whether he's trying to assist him.
Overruled. Go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. And again, he said, I ain't got nothing to hide, didn't he?
He did.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Trooper. You may step down. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state would call Trooper Matheny.
You saw the sworn testimony, which about to give this case not being heard, is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. See? Can you state your full name, spell your last name, please, for the record, sir?
Anthony Matheny, Matheny.
You may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, where are you employed?
With your House State Highway Patrol.
In what capacity?
I'm currently assigned to the Licensing and Commercial Standards Division out of District 6, which is the Columbus District,
How long have you been Ohio State Highway Patrol Trooper?
for about 10 years.
Okay. And were you so employed on November 14, 2023?
I was.
And sir, were you dispatched to an area on I-70 in the westbound lane around milepost 118?
I was.
And for what purpose were you so dispatched?
I was dispatched because there was a commercial involved crash that involved a bus and semi-swooping at that time.
Okay. And sir, at the time, were you wearing a body-worn camera like you have on here today?
I was.
And was that body-worn camera active at the time?
It was.
Okay. And sir, what were you doing out at the scene in that location? What were you requested to do?
The first thing that I did out there after assessing the scene was I took photographs of the vehicles.
Okay. And you did that with the camera?
Correct.
And did you have the body-worn camera on at the time that you were walking around with the camera?
I did.
I'm going to show you what's been marked State's Exhibit. Apologize, Your Honor. State's Exhibit number 21. This purports to be your body-worn camera. Does that appear accurate?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And sir, it looks like you have a pole and a camera with you at that time.
I believe the pole and the camera would have been the crash reconstruction unit there.
Okay. And who's on the crash reconstruction unit?
I would have been Sergeant Jasper.
Okay. Is Mr. Jasper in the courtroom here?
Yes.
Okay. So he was out at the scene?
I believe it was, yes.
Okay. And does this video truly and accurately depict your activity documenting the vehicles here involved?
It does. 1367. Like, so go ahead and create me a separate for the truck. I think 3277 is going to do the bus.
Okay. It's a 2017 trailer on a Hebron Maplewood leasing. It expires 8/31/2024. Stock out.
No, sir. Nothing. Will do.
That's the bus driver station right there, sir?
That is.
Okay, it's missing.
Yes.
Is that from damaged impact?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Did you have the opportunity to see the bus driver?
I did not.
Okay. In terms of the third vehicle so far, the silver Nissan Murano, were you able to take photographs at the scene of that vehicle?
I was not.
Why is that, sir?
Due to its extensive crash damage and where it was in relation to the semi and the bus.
Where was it in relationship to the semi and the bus?
It was kind of up against the back of the bus and underneath the tractor of the semi truck.
So you documented that on top of this Nissan Murano?
Correct. No, you're good, buddy. You just tell me to move. I'm not going to be a fire. Chief just called us because of the fire fatality. I wasn't planning on that. You already set her up going down? Aisle way. Copy that. And then I'm going to go about halfway and do another aisle shot. Because we pretty well, front of the bus, pretty clear.
Okay, like to check the outside. Right.
Halfway aisle.
Alright.
Truck driver in hazmat, where is he?
Transported to Grant?
Life threatening?
No.
No.
No, mobile, walking around. Yeah, I don't know how, but that's everything I've been told because I've like triple checked that because I was like, no way, that guy's fine. But
I haven't seen him. He's claiming non-injury?
yeah, he was walking. He was sitting in the median. He was sitting in the median.
I haven't seen him, but I've been sitting there pretty sure. Claiming non-injury.
Well, I thought it was fucking fatality for sure.
Well, yeah, when I was driving there, I saw the smoke. And there's no way.
Well, I was like, well, that's when I got out here. I was like, that's one.
Yeah, that's why it was when they kept saying it. Anything else? No, so far we're good. Did you get all the home addresses or not? Yeah, please. Just be on the safe side. Thanks, Doug.
I'm gonna sneak back here with you. I gotta get a couple.
Yeah,
I'll snag a couple back here.
Yell me when you jump out of the wood.
Nah, you guys are good. Your guys' pictures are probably more important than mine.
Did you get more photos yet? Other than the courtroom?
Hey, can you grab me a camera? Just anybody's, my camera's dying.
You want us to leave from cover for you, sir?
No, I don't.
You don't need that?
No, if they do, then we'll get it later. But I'm not gonna do body photos on this card. Oh, that hurt.
Oops, sorry, sir.
No, you're good, buddy.
I'm gonna go get the semi and then I'm done.
I gotta take a couple real quick. How is that a public safety alert?
1791 right on the Peterson subject. Pilot 77 LM. Yeah.
Yeah, when he gets down there, it might be a couple spots. If you need.
I'm out.
Some of these photos, sir, that you took were used by Trevor Jasper, Sergeant, for the purposes of his reconstruction report.
I believe he may have, yes.
Okay. And in terms of your other duties involving the use of a cell phone, to the best of your knowledge, was any cell phone recovered in the wreckage of the defendant's vehicle here, the Freightliner?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, and to the best of your knowledge, did anyone volunteer that the defendant had a cell phone in this particular case?
Not to my knowledge either.
Okay. And sir, in terms of commercial standards, you indicated that that's part of your job description. That's some of the things that you do.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And does that include traffic enforcement?
It includes traffic enforcement on the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration side as well as the Ohio Revised Code side.
Okay, so both sides.
Correct.
And just so that I understand, in terms of speeds for a semi, are they limited different than automobiles in the state of Ohio?
They're not.
Okay, so if the speed limit posted in this area was what, sir?
70.
Would that be the posted speed limit for a semi as well?
It would.
Okay, is there any special exemption that allows a semi to go faster than that speed?
There's not.
Is a semi driver exempt from any of the reckless standards or the following too close standards or any of the lane violations that other drivers that have a Class D license?
That's right.
So they have to follow the same rules.
Correct.
They can be cited for both.
Correct.
Okay. In terms of the utilization of a cell phone, are they subject to Ohio statute for cell phones as well as other federal regulations?
They are.
Okay. So that would prohibit the use of electromagnetic communication device such as a cell phone while they're operating a motor vehicle?
Correct.
Okay, and that would apply to an automobile
Correct.
driver at Class D or Class A?
Are you referring to the ORC side?
Yes.
Yes, that would apply to both equally.
Okay. And the exemptions under Division B, they apply to people operating semis, at least on the state side, as well as for people who are driving regular cars.
That's correct.
I believe in this district, the burden falls on the individual to prove that exemption doesn't apply. Is that your understanding?
That is.
Okay. But again, no one mentioned anyone using a cell phone, at least initially, in the preliminary investigation, either at the hospital or at the scene.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Thank you. No further questions.
Cross-examination.
I have no questions, Ron. Thank you.
Thank you, Trooper. You may sit down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good time for a break, Mr. Murphy?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why don't we take an afternoon recess, 15 or 20 minutes, and we'll resume.
camera. They broke mine down to an 8 because we only have the one camera. So.
4, 5, and 6 of them.
And 4, 5, 6 too. Yeah.
I told my son too, I said, you know, more, and I'm telling you, can't be all crew down here.
I'm gonna tell them later it might just be beneficial. I don't know if we have people, but beneficial to set another camera. Tomorrow we'll have 2 people, we'll have Bill doing a good job. But on the days when we aren't. Yeah.
Great, so this is just, yeah.
Oh, it was frustrating.
It's cool. Or not, Ryan, sorry.
So, we good? Oh, yeah, they were.
Got it.
Big, awful. Chuck, Bob, Tommy.
Switch to the desk and look what
Yeah, right,
happens.
right.
John Johnson. No, that's fine, I just want to make sure you get on it.
mess up our signs.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting on. You're going too far.
Thank you. Have a seat. All right, we're back, ready to go. Mr. Murphy, your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state would call Sandra Erland.
Solemnly swear testimony that you have to give this case now be yours, the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. May I see? State your full name, spell your last name, please, for record.
Sandra Erlenbach, E-R-L-E-N-B-A-C-H.
Thank you.
You may inquire.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name's Cliff Murphy. I don't think we've ever talked.
No,
Okay. My understanding is that you actually work for the trucking company, Midstate.
yes,
In what capacity?
safety director,
And how long have you been safety director?
40 years.
Okay. And what does a safety director do?
We hire drivers, we interview them, and we look over all their DOT files, make sure they're
Tell us about Midstate's ELD systems.
It's a J.J. Keller system, and it's Bluetooth hooked into the truck, and then once the truck takes off, the ELD kicks in, and it is hooked to the engine, and it just shows the activities of the driver.
Okay, how does it transmit back to your company?
It goes back to, the drivers submit the logs, it goes into the J.J. Keller system, then its system comes into us, so we get it through our J.J. Keller ELD system.
Okay, but is it satellite directed that way, or is it?
Bluetooth.
Well, Bluetooth is just one way of, like my phone, communicating with the television.
Once the drivers submit the logs, then it comes into our computer system through our ELD.
Does the driver have any control over that?
No.
Does the driver have the ability to manipulate that system?
No.
Does the driver have the ability to utilize any personal cell phone Wi-Fi network to facilitate the transfer of this information?
No.
Okay. And how often is this ELD system calibrated, if at all, by Midstate?
I don't think it's I can't answer that question.
Okay. You guys have absolutely nothing to do with it?
The calibration
Yes.
of the system,
Yeah.
of the ELD.
What about accuracy? How do you test it for accuracy?
Can't answer that question. It's hooked to the engine, and so when the truck engine's turning,
Okay.
the ELD operates. So whenever that truck moves, it goes into the ELD.
But it also records speed, doesn't it?
Yes,
Okay. And the speed would be important to Midstate, wouldn't it?
correct.
Why would the speed be important to Midstate?
We don't want our drivers to speed or go over the speed limit.
And why is that?
It's against the law, and all of our drivers are required to follow all federal, state, and local laws.
Okay. And if you don't follow the laws, then obviously as a driver you could be terminated.
Possibly, yes.
And if you have your records looked at through, the federal, people or the state people, I mean, you could be fined as well, couldn't you?
Yes.
Okay, so in fact, they would do a review of the records to make sure that there is compliance by Midstate with, these requirements. Would that be correct?
That is correct.
Okay. In this particular case, are you familiar with an individual by the name of Jacob McDonald?
Yes, he works for us.
And is Mr. McDonald seated in the courtroom?
Yes, he's right there.
Okay. And did he work for you on Tuesday, November 14, 2023? When I say you, I mean Midstate.
Yes, he did.
Okay. Is he still so employed?
No, he is not.
Okay. In terms of the 2019 Freightliner 15. Are you familiar with that truck that he was operating that day?
I know that was his truck, yes.
Okay. At some point in time, did you have the opportunity to meet with any folks with the State Highway Patrol about showing them a similar vehicle to that?
Yes, we did.
Okay. I want to show you what's been marked. I believe it's State's Exhibit 2A, B, C, and D. I'm going to show you on the monitor in front of you. This is State's Exhibit 2A. This appears to be a view of the driver's seat for this type of vehicle. Does that appear accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Would that accurately reflect or depict the type of seat and configuration of cab that Mr. McDonald had on November 14, 2023?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 2B. This appears to be a better picture, a complete picture of the steering wheel. It also looks like it has, and I apologize to bring it up with me. And I would ask you to look at the big screen. This is what I'm looking at, this device here.
The ELD.
Right, okay. And that is the system that would be used to track, the speed and distances and other information?
That's the tablet, yes.
Okay.
The information goes to.
Can you play video games on that?
No.
Okay. In terms of placements for cell phones, is there a placement for a cell phone, personal or otherwise, in this cab?
No.
Okay, so there's no place that in this cab that Midstate provides to mount a cell phone?
No.
Okay. The reason I ask you this question is it looks like the ELD is mounted by and to the front windshield by, I'm going to say, a suction type device?
Yes.
Okay, there's no such thing for a personal cell phone?
No.
Okay. And then I'm going to show you what's been marked State's Exhibit number 2C. This should show the center console. It looks like there's a radio that's in there and another seat, but it doesn't appear to be much else besides that. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
And again, does State's Exhibit 2C truly and accurately reflect a similar cab that the defendant would have had when he was operating this vehicle on November 14, 2023?
Yes.
And finally, I'm going to show you what's been marked State's Exhibit number 2D. And again, that's a straight-on shot of the ELD, and it looks like there's something, a square right over the midsection buttons that's screwed shut. There's nothing that goes there?
No.
Okay. And again, there's no other spots for a cell phone or anything else?
No.
Okay. I also want to talk to you about State's Exhibit number 6. And if you could look in the book in front of you,
this book?
yes. And I'm going to try to see if I can put that up on the board or a TV set for you to see. Are you familiar with State's Exhibit number 6?
Yes.
Is this the first page or one of the pages of the ELD readout that was submitted to the National Transit Safety Board and to the OSP in the investigation into this matter?
Yes.
And does this exhibit truly and accurately reflect what Mr. McDonald's ELD readout and data would be on November 14th, 2038, last time of which would be 8:48 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay. And what kind of information are we looking at this besides we have a time and we have a street that says I-70?
Interstate 70?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that what that is?
Yes,
Okay, and then it has the driver's name, that would be the defendant,
correct.
the city and state, and zip, is that his or is that the,
That's where the
That's where-
ELD is at the time.
okay, so that's where the actual truck is at that
Correct.
point, okay? The speed is at 0 at that point,
Yes,
the tachometer is at 566.
yes,
That would indicate that even though the speed was at 0, the engine would still be running,
yes,
okay? And unit 315, would that be the defendant's unit?
that's correct.
Okay. And the item below that is the same date, but instead of 8:48 a.m., it appears to be 8:46 a.m. Is that accurate?
Yes,
And again, on I-70,
yes,
the defendant as the driver,
yes,
the odometer showing 52,900, 529,000, apologize, 906.3, and that would be in miles driven?
that's the odometer that's on, yes,
Or
on
miles,
the truck,
not
on the
kilometers.
truck.
Okay. So that would be a little bit less than 2 miles away from where the speed goes to 0. Would that be accurate?
Yes,
Okay. And the speed that's registering at that point in time is 74.7 miles per hour.
yes,
Okay? And would that be an accurate speed from your familiarity with these systems for this truck at that point in time?
yes,
Okay. So, Mr. McDonald, on November 14th, 2023, at 8:46 a.m., while on I-70, appearing to be less than 2 miles away from the collision site on this particular case, was going 74.7 miles per hour. Would that be correct?
yes.
And
That's
this-
what this shows, yes,
Well, that's accurate, isn't it?
yes,
In fact, it would be a problem if it wasn't accurate, wouldn't it? Be a problem with the feds, it'd be a problem with the state folks too, wouldn't
right,
it? The speed limit out there, this isn't too far away from where Midstate is located, off of exit 126.
yes,
So this is about 8 miles away from there, give or take. The speed limit out there is 70 miles an hour. Is that correct?
yes,
Okay. So, Mr. McDonald would have been speeding at this particular time. Would that be accurate?
that's correct.
Okay. Now, in terms of earlier, and I have another section highlighted, this is at 8:25. Again, on November 14th, 2023, same driver. It looks like the truck was going 75.2 miles per hour. Would that be accurate?
Yes,
Okay. Again, that would be speeding on I-70.
yes,
Okay. And obviously that's against the policies that are within the company. Would that be accurate?
yes,
Okay. The actual vehicle itself that the defendant was operating, did this vehicle have a speed governor on it?
yes.
Okay, what is a speed governor?
I can't answer that question.
Okay, you don't,
I couldn't answer it correctly. I think I know the answer to the question, but I'm just not sure.
well, give it a shot.
72.
Okay, you
I think it's governed at 72.
You think it's governed
Yes.
at 72?
Yes.
Okay. And so what does that mean to you?
It's supposed to be, I can't answer the question, I'm not sure.
Okay. What about cruise control?
Yes,
What is the cruise control? But as far as you're concerned, this information would be accurate.
yes.
In terms of the policies that Midstate has, I want you to, if you could look at Exhibit 13 in there.
Have Exhibit 13, yes.
Okay, are you familiar with State's Exhibit 13?
Yes,
The first one we're looking at is 13A, which is the driver's manual.
okay,
To the best of your knowledge, you can take a moment and look at that. I'm sorry.
yeah,
To the best of your knowledge, would this have been the manual that would have been in effect on November 14, 2023?
yes.
And what kind of information would you, what information is in 13A that I would need to know as a driver?
It shows all the rules and regulations for Mid-State Systems.
Okay. Such as? Not allowed to have a radar detector? Okay, that's covered in there, isn't it?
Yes,
Okay. Am I allowed to speed?
you need to follow all federal, state, and local law.
Okay. So, I'm looking now at page 14 of 13A. Warning letter and personnel file.
Page what?
Page 14, Your Honor.
14.
So there's
Yes.
speeding violations, driver alerts, DOT, roadside inspections, accidents that are preventable, late deliveries. That's in there.
Yes,
There's also an after-hours telephone numbers.
yes.
Okay. And looking at 13B. Talks about the use of
$13B.
yes, State's Exhibit 13B. It's on page 13.
Okay, yes. Or no, this is 13H. Can't find my 13B.
This is what I'm looking at. It's
I'm
right after-
sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
This one?
This is what I'm looking at.
Oh, it says H, right? Or is that a B?
That's a different one. That's a B.
Okay,
That's what happens when you have
Yes.
a poor education. So I apologize.
yes, I see this.
Okay. Midstate has a policy regarding personal cell phones.
Yes,
What's your understanding of that policy?
they're not allowed to use any handheld devices. It all has to be hands-free.
Okay. But you can use a hands-free
Yes.
headset.
Yes, yes,
And that's in compliance with federal law?
yes.
Okay. And there's, now I'm looking to the next page, 13C. And then employee acknowledgement. Is that your signature under management signature?
Yes,
And to the best of your knowledge, is that Mr. McDonald's signature?
yes, it is, Jake.
Okay, it appears that it was signed on June 2nd, 2020.
That's correct.
And then there is a receipt for the educational booklet for drivers.
Yes,
Okay. And it looks like disclosures regarding background investigations. Okay, so these are all the official documents that if you want to be a driver at Midstate, you have to review and you have to agree to and you have to sign.
yes.
Is there a policy that deals with circumstances when Midstate calls the driver, as whether the driver can take the call?
No, the driver shouldn't take the call.
Okay. What is the driver required to do?
Just wait until he's at a stop or whatever, and then he can call us back.
Okay. So as far as you know, there's no exceptions. You're not supposed to be using a personal cell phone, at the time that you're operating the vehicle, other than with a headset.
Correct.
Okay. And just so I'm following along, Midstate doesn't give their employees cell phones or anything like that.
No, we do not.
Does Midstate supply Wi-Fi services for the personal use of the driver while they're operating or in the vehicle owned by Midstate?
No.
Okay. And nothing in the ELD, to the best of your knowledge, runs off of a personal cell phone that the driver would have?
No.
Okay. We have 13A, B, C, and D, 4 exhibits. To the best of your knowledge, those 4 accurately depict the policies, and truly inaccurately depict the policies that a driver would have and the obligations that they would have working for Midstate.
Yes.
I want to turn your attention to State's Exhibit number 19. And I apologize, State's Exhibit 19 may be something I have to ask the president of the company, but I wanted to ask him first. It's all the way at the end. Nothing's easy, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Oh, here we go. Yes, you will have to ask Mike.
Okay, this would be the build
Yes.
sheet for the Freightliner that the defendant was operating on that particular day. You would not be able to speak as to this.
No, I would not.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you.
Cross-examination?
Oh, sorry.
Well, State's Exhibit 6 is still there. So I'll just talk to you a little about it. You were just testifying to State's Exhibit 6 earlier, and that's the ELD data, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And we were looking at the ELD data, that's at 8:46 a.m., correct?
Yes.
That's 74.7 miles an hour, correct?
Yes.
And the last entry is at 8:48 or 2 minutes later and almost 2 miles later, correct?
Correct.
That's 0.
Correct.
If we look at the entry before that, 71.5 miles an hour, that's also 2 minutes before, correct?
Yes.
And if we look at the odometer, it's about 2.5 miles before.
Yes.
Very similar,
Correct.
You would agree with that?
Yes.
If we look at the other highlighted portion, the 75 miles an hour, this is at 8:25 a.m.
Yes.
The next entry, which is 5 minutes later, which is nearly 10 miles an hour below,
That
that's
is
the
correct.
speed, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, how long have you worked at Mid-State Systems?
40 years.
40 years?
Yes.
Is it fair to say you know a little bit about semi-trucks?
Yes.
Okay. Can I ask you, when a semi-truck's loaded, and in this particular case, are you aware how much weight's on that truck?
About 23,000.
23,000 pounds?
Yeah.
Okay. And a semi-truck itself, it's 53-foot trailer and tractor is about 20,000 pounds, is that
That
accurate?
is correct.
Okay. So we're looking at, we're looking at 46,000 pounds?
Correct.
Okay. So a semi-truck that's 46,000 pounds, that's on cruise control, if it starts going down a hill, does it pick up speed a little bit?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And then that same semi-truck, if it starts going up a hill, does it bog
Would
down the
lose
speed?
Lose speed.
You would lose speed?
Yes.
Would you expect it to lose more speed going up a hill?
Yes.
Okay. You said the speed limit on I-70 is, well, as far as you know, 70 miles an hour?
That is correct.
Okay. And you didn't really want to speak to it, but you said as far as you could guess, the governor was at 72, is that accurate?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay. And this truck has cruise control?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So this data that we're looking at right here, this is from the J.J. Keller platform,
That is correct.
Okay. And the J.J. Keller platform is more or less software back at your headquarters that captures the data from the vehicles.
That is correct.
So you have, how many trucks are in the fleet?
Right now, we have 23.
23 trucks. So each one of these trucks transmits the data back to Mid-State Systems?
Yes.
Okay. And then you can go into that software and pull various reports, is that accurate?
That is correct.
Okay. And that's the one that you pulled here for, was it for Sergeant Jasper or?
NTSB?
The NCSB, okay. And can that pull other reports?
Yes.
Did you provide another port to the NTSB?
Yes, we did.
Okay. I have what's marked as Defense Exhibit B. This is your 6-day report you provided in the discovery. I have here a report. Does that look familiar to you?
Yes, the NTSB wanted latitude and longitude.
Is that something you normally do?
No.
Okay. But that's something that you were able to do through the J.J. Keller system?
Yes.
Or platform, I guess
Yes.
it's called? Okay, so, and in this report, it looks like a multiple days. Is that accurate? We go from 11/13, which would be the day before the accident,
Yes, it is.
all the way to
multiple days.
11/10, to 11/9, to 11/8?
Yes.
Okay. And so they wanted a multiple day report from you?
Yes, they did.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier that when the truck moves, it starts transmitting data.
Correct.
Okay. And does that happen when the truck fires up or when the truck moves?
When the truck fires up.
Okay. So once that engine is started, then the ELD device comes to life.
That is true.
Okay. And the ELD device should be transmitting data continuously. Is that right? We're looking at 2-minute increments here on the.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what, in your estimation, what's the lowest speed that ELD data picks up?
We thought it was under 5.
Okay. Can you look, I have it highlighted for you here, on 11/13, 14:48, I believe that's con time, or it might be military time. He was in Man's Choice City,
Pennsylvania, yes.
Pennsylvania. So, and that was the day before, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And it picked up a speed as low as 2.5 miles an hour?
yes,
Okay. Later, or actually earlier that day, he's still in Pennsylvania, correct?
yes,
And it picked up a speed of 3.3 miles an hour?
yes.
Okay. How about the day before that? He was in Hebron, Ohio,
Correct,
and that's still Unit 315, correct? That's
Yes.
his truck?
yes,
And it picked up a speed as low as 0.8 miles an hour?
yes.
As far as your cell phone policy goes, you state that you'll reimburse them, I believe, up to $20 a month. Is that accurate?
We used to, $20 per month, yes.
Okay. That's for what, their data or their cell phone bill?
Years ago, the cell phones cost more, and so we did reimburse the drivers $20 a month towards their cell phone bill.
So they're not forbidden to have a cell phone inside the semi-truck?
No,
Thank you, no further questions.
thank you.
Redirect?
Thank you. Hey, Chris. Can I exhibit back?
I take it?
Okay, going back to State's Exhibit number 6. Do you see that?
Yes,
Okay. And this is looking at 846 I-70, speed registered at 74.7 miles per hour.
yes, that's correct.
Odometer, last 4 digits is 906.3.
Correct.
Okay. I'm going to go and show you Defendant's Exhibit B, and just to show you there, that's what I'm looking at here. And I'm going to ask you to show me where 906.3 is on this sheet for odometer.
It's not on here.
That's weird, isn't it? Well, let me ask you this question.
Was the time at different intervals on each of those?
Well, I'm asking you because I'm looking at 832,
Correct,
and where it says 71.6, and the mileage in the last 4 digits was 889.8. You see that?
yeah, I'm wondering if when we were running the intervals, you could run it at 5-minute intervals or
Right.
2-minute intervals.
That's exactly where I'm headed. But
Yeah.
let me ask you this question, other than looking at my hand and looking at the damage the sun has done. But 906.3 is a number higher than 889.8. Would you agree?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And so the 908.1 is the zero speed, the top line, and it's the same zero speed on the top line in State's Exhibit number 6. Would that be correct?
Correct,
Okay.
but the times are different.
So the more accurate one, based on the shorter interval, near in time to the collision that we're here to talk about, is not the 889.3, it would be the 906.3. Would you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay. And that would show a speed of 74.7 miles per hour that Mr. McDonald was doing. Would you agree with me on that too?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Recross.
The ELD device you just testified on redirect that it does in 2 minutes
can,
It can. And these seem to be about 2 to 5 minute increments.
yes, that's the report that we were asked to run, yes.
You see right here, it says 1117 Lee Street.
Yes,
That's the initial engagement of the vehicle, correct?
correct,
We're setting at about 560 RPMs.
yes,
Our RPMs go up to 897 RPMs, correct?
yes,
And that's roughly 5 minutes after the initial engagement of the engine.
that he turned the ELD on, yes,
The address changes, correct? From 1117 Lee
Yes.
Street to 1111 Street.
yes,
The vehicle's moving, isn't it?
yes.
How many miles an hour is he going?
If he was under maybe 5 miles an hour, it wouldn't register.
We just looked at the 5-day data.
I
We picked
know,
up 0.8
sometimes it
miles
doesn't,
an hour.
I don't know why. I
Okay.
can't answer that question.
He's continuing to travel down Lee Street, you would agree with me, right? At 8 o'clock,
Yes.
we have another data point,
Yes,
another data point at 8:10,
yes,
another data point at 8:15.
yes,
All of those show 0, correct?
right,
The first data point we get is on the on-ramp at 38.6 miles an hour. Is that accurate?
yes,
We know we drove from
Right.
park position to that ramp.
yes, yes.
No further questions.
I have a couple of questions about State's Exhibit 6. This is the ELD report we talked about.
Yes,
Last entry, data point 8:48 a.m. 0 speed. So, the data points prior to that, the one most prior, or just prior to, was at 8:46, 2 minutes before.
yes, that's correct,
Then it was 8:44, 2 minutes before that.
yes,
Then it was 8:43, 1 minute. Then it was 8:41, 2 minutes. Then it was 8:36, 5 minutes. Explain to me what prompts these data point timestamps. Is it continuous? Is it every 2 minutes, or
I think it's,
is it located to some sort of positioning that the vehicle's in?
I think
Or
it's
do you know?
whatever we put in for the increment. I think it's, I'm not sure. You know, if we put it in for 1 to 2 minutes, or we could go 10 minutes or 5 minutes. I think it's what, and I'm saying think, is what was put into the system to pull the speeds
Okay.
out.
So another question. 11/14/2023, 8:46. This is the entry that says the speed was at 74.7 miles an hour. What does that tell me? That at that moment, the truck was going 74.7 miles an hour, or is it a rolling average? Or do you know?
I do not know the answer to that question.
Follow-up questions, Mr. Murphy?
Sure, the judge asked you about rolling average. Are any of these other numbers that are here appear to be a rolling average? I mean, do we take zeros and roll that average with 75 and come up with 38?
I can't answer that question. I don't know.
Who's responsible for this system?
We are responsible for the system, but I don't understand the rolling average. I don't understand the question.
Okay, well, let me rephrase the question. Who put in the data that yielded State's Exhibit number 6?
We got the data from our J.J. Keller system.
Okay, you have no control over that system then?
No.
You can only make inquiries to the system.
Yes, that is correct.
And the inquiries here was somewhere between every minute or every 2 minutes.
That is correct.
Okay, and the last speed that actually was reflected prior to 0 was 74.7 miles per hour.
That is correct.
You have any reason to believe that that's inaccurate?
No.
Do you have any information or training that was provided to you as the safety officer for mid systems that this would be inaccurate?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think to the judge's question, if you put a query, you do queries off of this
Correct.
system. So if you, I'm asking this if this is correct. If you put into the system, J.J. Keller, you said, pull me 5-minute increments. And it maybe has some data points that have been sent to it that might be less than 5 minutes. Would it pull those too? Is that why we get the irregular? Could that be an explanation as to
That could be the explanation.
why we get
yes.
the irregularities in the
Yes.
time stamps? Okay. And as far as accuracy goes, as far as you know, the 0 miles an hour that's entered in from 1117 State Street up to the time that we're on the ramp, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 entries at 0 miles an hour. That can't be accurate because we know the vehicle was moving, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, man. I'm gonna step down. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Your Honor. Say recall Lee Zazworski.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear testimony you're about to give this case not being heard is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. You have a seat. State your full name, spell your last name, please, for reference.
Leon Zazworski,
Spell your last name.
Zazworski.
Thank you, sir.
You may inquire.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. My name is Cliff Murphy. I think we spoke by phone on a couple occasions.
You have.
I wanted to ask you about what we're here to talk about that happened on November 14, 2023. I'm assuming at that time you were president of Mid-State Systems at that time.
I was.
How long have you been president of this company?
Since 1979.
Okay. And, sir, about how many drivers does Mid-State have at any given time?
Currently, I believe we're at 17 or 18 drivers.
Okay. And about how many trucks?
20 some odd trucks.
Okay. And, sir, we're here to talk about a 2019 Freightliner that was purchased by Mid-State Systems that the defendant in this case, Jacob McDonald, was using on November 14, 2023.
Okay.
Start off, you know Jacob McDonald. He was working at that time for your company.
He was.
Okay, and was that the vehicle that he was operating?
I believe it was.
Okay. In front of you is a big heavy book. Toward the last is State's Exhibit number 19. I'd like you to take a moment to look at that.
Okay.
All the way in the back. Nothing's easy.
Is it the last one? This?
It's not that one.
Okay.
This is what I'm looking for, sir.
Okay.
It's all the way in the back.
All the way in the back.
Further back. You're at it now. There should be a first page someplace.
Got it.
Okay? You take a moment, take a look at that.
All right. Any one particular thing I should be looking for?
Well, I'm looking at primarily the exhibit. In total, there's some things that are highlighted in there in yellow.
I do, I see one.
Okay. And what I want to ask you is that my understanding is that your group provided this to the NTSB, this document?
I'm sure we have, yes.
Okay, and this would be the actual build for the vehicle that Mr. McDonald was operating on November 14th, 2023. Would you agree with that?
Build?
Well, the order.
Yes.
For the semi.
Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of how this truck was configured, it appears to be 2019 model year specified on page 1.
Okay.
And then looks like on page 3, electronic cruise control with intelligent powertrain management and controls on the steering wheel.
Yes.
Powertrain management and controls on the steering wheel.
Yes.
Moving to page 8, it looks like 8. It has highway 12-speed overdrive automatic, automated manual transmission.
Yes.
On highway 12-speed overdrive automated manual transmission. Heavy-duty electronic transmission shift control, column-mounted heavy-duty electronic shift control, column-mounted. Would that be accurate?
It would be.
And then going back, looks like about page 14, it would have THP 60 power steering, 4-spoke 18-inch black steering wheel with stitches, or with switches, I'm sorry, and black steering wheel with switches. 227-inch wheelbase as well.
That's right.
Okay. Then moving a little bit further, no obstacle detection system, no lane departure warning system, no camera video managing system, no side object detection system. Would that be accurate, sir?
It would be.
No position communication accessory. Further on down, a few pages over. And then looking at, I guess now we're probably about page 20. It says 70 mile per hour road speed limit. Would that be accurate?
I believe it would be accurate, yes.
Okay. So the Freightliner itself then would not be able to go. I mean, obviously there could be going down a hill or something like that, a steep hill or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the speed is 70 miles an hour.
Yes.
Okay. And cruise control speed limit set at road speed limit with auto resume underneath that. Would that be accurate?
Yes, that would be accurate.
Okay. So the fastest that I can set the cruise control at is 70 miles an hour. Would that be accurate?
No.
So I can maintain something beyond the specifications of the truck you order?
Yes.
Okay. And how's that?
There's an electronic control module that allows you to, or the dealer to alter that number.
Okay. And do you have, did you have this altered?
Well, first of all, we didn't build this truck. This wasn't our specs. okay? The greater majority of the truck, these trucks are pretty much middle of the road trucks. These would have probably come out of stock. I don't know specifically if this was one, but both suppliers of the equipment have a build sheet similar to this for us as they would most of our customers, and they build them, and if we're in need of it, we buy them. I think this is the way this truck was purchased. Once it's purchased, there is a template and guidelines that we gave them that they would adjust all the parameters, shifting parameters, the RPMs, top end, low end, and what speeds each of those gears you could max out on. So both Freightliner, in this case, and International Navistar would have those parameters for us. So when that truck is delivered, they'll all run the same. They all run the same way.
Okay.
They ship the same.
So international trucks generally are set up the same way as Freightliner trucks are?
I believe that to be pretty true, yes.
And would that also be the case for the exhaust gas? I guess I'm going to call it an engine brake system. Would it be similar to that? Or those?
Yeah, if one were on the truck, ordered on the truck, those, I believe, those engine retarders are optional material.
So what you're telling me is that this document that your company provided to the NTSB that said that there was a limit of 70 miles an hour on it is not, I'm going to use the word completely accurate, because there's another set of documents that you have that show that you modified this truck so that it could go faster than 70 miles an hour. Is that your testimony on your oath here, sir?
I did not tell the NTSB that it was limited to 70. I told them it would run 70 on the pedal and run 72 on cruise.
Okay, so this vehicle can go 72 on cruise. Okay, and that's on flat level grade.
Yes.
Okay. Does it surprise you that Mr. McDonald told the OSP that it was 70 limited on cruise?
I'm not sure I have an answer for that. Am I surprised he'd say that? I don't know how to answer that.
Well, it's either true or not.
Well, I'd be surprised because most of our drivers.
Objection. He wasn't asking whether or not it was true. He was asking if it surprised him. The question just changed.
Clarify the question first.
Would it surprise you that the OSP was told by your driver, Jacob McDonald, on video, that the truck was limited to 70 miles an hour on cruise control?
It would surprise me to a degree, yes.
Okay, that's not correct. In your testimony here today on your oath is that it'll go 72.
My testimony is that the templates are set, our guidelines are set for those parameters.
Okay, and those are instructions that you would have provided to Freightliner from your company. Okay, now it's your question. Okay, no alternate road speed limit. No alternate road speed limit. What does that mean?
I'm not sure. I don't know. Someone else may have the right answer, but I'm not sure I've ever had this in my possession.
Okay.
I don't know if this came from our office or did it come from Daimler or the dealership itself.
Sandra says she knows nothing about ordering of trucks.
She does not. But as I said earlier, these trucks are they're middle of the road trucks. Everybody orders them. I've bought trucks from them for years and years. They understand what piece of horsepower or what piece of equipment we need to get the job done. So when you ask me about some of these other ones, I don't have the answer to that because I don't believe I've seen this.
Okay. So you believe, and so I understand your testimony, is that the speed limit, or excuse me, irrespective of the speed limit at 70, a driver for your company can set the cruise control at 72 miles an hour?
No, he cannot. Oh, he can set the cruise,
Right.
but not the, yeah, yes.
And that would be the case with Mr. McDonald's 2019 Freightliner?
Yes.
Okay. Would the driver be able to set the cruise for 74 miles per hour?
Should not be able to do that, no.
Okay. So your testimony is this document that was provided to the NTSB by your company, you've never seen it before?
I don't remember seeing this before.
Okay. The J.J. Keller platform for your ELD system,
Yes,
is that reliable?
yes.
Is it industry standard?
It's approved by the federal government, yes. There are only a number, there's a finite number that are approved, and J.J. Keller is one of those.
Okay. So it's not a fly-by-night?
No, J.J. Keller's been in business a long time.
Okay. Would you expect their data to be accurate and reliable?
Should be.
Okay. That doesn't sound like an overwhelming sense of confidence.
Well, there was early on when the industry switched. I believe it was October of 16. J.J. Keller had some problems with theirs after they were approved by the federal government. So there was a number of months that at the start of this whole program where all paper logs were eliminated, or the greater majority of paper logs, that J.J. Keller had some issues, and it took them several months to get it squared away.
That was in 2016.
16, 17, yes.
Okay, but not in 2023.
2023.
Okay. And so, you know, sir, I'm going to, if I can show you what's been marked State's Exhibit number 6. This purports to be an ELD log provided in this particular case by your company. That shows Mr. McDonald's last rateable speed at 74. Miles away. That be accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with the I-70 road outside of Mid-State Systems?
Yes.
126. Is that generally in that area flat grade road?
Generally?
Yeah, for about 10 miles either way.
Generally flat. I know.
Okay. There's no steep hills or anything like that?
Inside of 10 miles. I don't recall. Yeah, it's generally flat.
Okay. It's sir, I don't mean to ask you an unfair question. I just don't know the answer to it, but I want to ask it anyway. Do you have a CDL yourself?
I do not.
Okay. Have you ever had a CDL?
I have not.
Okay. Would it be fair to say then, and that you wouldn't be qualified then to drive the 2019 Freightliner by virtue of the fact that you don't have a license to drive it?
I could not drive that truck, no.
Okay. Is that something that your safety coordinator, Sandra, would be qualified to drive? Does she have a CDL?
She does not.
Okay. Does that strike you as odd that you're not qualified to drive the trucks that your drivers are?
Not at all.
No? Who selects the mid-grade build for these trucks then?
The what?
Who selects, you said these are middle-of-the-road trucks? In terms of features, I'm assuming that means that, you know, there's top grade, and then there's something less, and then this is something in the middle. That's how I took that statement.
Well, I'm responsible for the purchasing of the trucks. There's a lot of, there has been and continues to be conversation going into, the purchase of it. But once again, I've been buying the same type of trucks off of two separate dealers for over 50 years. So they understand who we are. A lot of these people are the same people that sold them to me a couple of decades ago. They know what type of equipment we need and where we go and what we're hauling. So they have as much in building these as I did.
Okay, so you rely on their...
They have quite a bit of info. I'm ultimately the guy that's got to pay for them, so I'll have fun with that.
Understand. But ultimately, all these decisions are basically being made by some third party not associated with your company, other than to sell you things.
Ask me that again. I'm not
Sure. You don't have your safety person isn't a CDL holder. You're not a CDL holder. Neither one of you are qualified to drive the vehicles that your drivers are driving. And so your answer, as I understood it, was that you relied on the expertise of the salespeople to sell you what you should buy, and you've been relying on them for the last 50 years.
To a degree, that's true.
Okay.
To a degree.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I eat, sleep, and drink this stuff. I have friends in the business. I read a lot. So it isn't entirely a decision that they couldn't influence me into buying something I didn't want to buy, I don't believe. So, yeah, there's input from them. There's input from a third party, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Cross-examination.
We done with it?
Yes, sir. How are you this afternoon?
It's been a long day.
Yeah. So as a result of this accident, there's been a lot of information that's been requested of your company, correct? Correct. Okay. And you've cooperated with anything that's been requested of you? Can you answer audibly, sir?
Yes.
Okay. And have you purposely withheld any information? Okay. And you say you've been running a trucking company now for 50 plus years?
That's right.
Okay. It's been a successful business?
Yes, for the most part, yes.
Yeah. So, in 50 years of experience, that's running an actual trucking business, bidding people to take loads from point A to point B, right?
Yes.
You don't need a CDL to do that, do you?
No.
You think you gained enough experience in 50 plus years to know what kind of trucks you want?
Most days I believe that's true.
Okay. All right. So I listened to you on direct air, and your explanation on the build sheet that the prosecution had. It appears to me that you're explaining that these trucks are built by Freightliner. Is Freightliner your only truck that you own?
No, International Navistar is a
Okay.
supplier of ours.
Freightliner and International Navistar. So these trucks are built by them at kind of a stock spec, so to speak.
Yes.
Okay. And then they're shipped out to the dealer, and then you would interact with the dealer, and you would say, I want my truck the way I want it. And they would be the spec, as you were saying, hold on, let me rephrase that. You would go to the dealer with a spec that you've used before, correct?
That's right.
And you've been dealing with these people for a very long time, is that accurate?
That's right.
Okay. So when you get, the truck, the 2019 Freightliner that we're discussing today, that has that stock build sheet, then it goes to the dealer, correct? And so on the build sheet, it might say 70 mile an hour cruise control. But your dealer knows to modify that electronic module at 70 on the pedal, 72 off the pedal, correct? And just so I'm clear, 70 on the pedal means the cruise control's off and you've got your foot on the pedal, right? The 72 means it's on cruise control.
That's right.
Okay. So this isn't too dissimilar to a Ford or a GM having a stock car that comes to the dealership and they put some of the 4x4 packages on. Kind of the same thing, right?
Very similar, yes.
So they're just modifying that truck to the way Mid-State Systems likes it. Okay. You were asked earlier if you'd be surprised that Jacob McDonald told you that the cruise had a limit of 70. You recall that question?
I do.
Okay. Would it surprise you to know that that question was asked when he was in the hospital laying in bed?
Yeah, in the hospital laying in bed, yeah, I'd be surprised if it was asking me.
Okay. Let's talk about your JJ Keller system, Smidge, here. Now, you say they had some problems back in 2016. Issues, I think you described it as?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you just testified on direct that this would have been the last data entry, correct? 74.7? That was at 8:46 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay. And you see down here on the bottom, we start at 7:49 a.m., correct?
Yes.
That's probably the truck being fired up. We look at the RPM. Is that an idle speed for one of those?
Yes.
Okay. And then I'm assuming if it goes to 897, that the driver's on the throttle at that point. Is that correct?
On the throttle, yes.
Okay. I want you to look at the next 6 entries, or 29 minutes. That goes from 1117 Lee Street up to State Street, then to the on-ramp. Okay, you following me?
Yes.
How many miles an hour is he going during the course of that travel?
0.
We know the truck's moving, right?
Yes.
That can't be accurate, can it?
No, it can't be. If it went from A to B. Yeah.
Thank you. No further questions.
Redirect.
Thank you. Sir, how far is 1117 was it State Street from 1111 State Street?
You say 1111?
Well, let me make sure that I'm looking at it right here, because I'm showing you what's previously been marked State's Exhibit 6. In this particular case, you were asked by defense counsel that it was Lee Street. And I'm looking at these right up here. How far is 1111 or 41's Lee Street from 1117 Lee Street?
It appears to be the same location because the odometer hasn't moved.
So if I'm going no place, which is what it looks like we're looking at here, would you expect there to be a speed to go no place?
I'm not sure what you're pointing at, but
I'll show you right here where it says the odometer is.
it's not showing up on mine. That's all. I couldn't tell what you were pointing at.
Oh, I apologize. I don't. Is it coming up?
It
now?
wasn't.
If you point the laser up there, he doesn't.
Basically, or at least.
Yeah, if the odometer's not moving, you're going nowhere.
Okay. So if it was suggested that this was somehow an error because all the readings show 0 for Lee Street. That would be incorrect.
That would be correct for Lee Street, yes.
It would be correct for Lee Street?
It would be, I guess,
Incorrect.
incorrect.
Okay. How far is the State Street ramp from Lee Street, if you know?
It appears to be just under a mile.
Okay. And it says the speed is 0
Yes.
for that. Well, let me ask you this question. When does this actually register, if you know, on the system? In other words, do you have to be at a certain speed in order for this to register a mile per hour?
Generally speaking, they are set around 5 miles an hour.
Okay.
And that within, yes, 5
Okay.
miles an hour.
So if I'm going a relatively short distance, like we have here, in a semi with a 53-foot trailer, I'm probably not doing 40 miles an hour. Would you agree with that?
On short distances across the street, yes, you'd probably not be doing 40. Right?
Okay. And you're probably not going to be doing something that will necessarily register on that in terms of speed. Would that be correct?
Well, I don't know what the situation is, but it could be correct, yes.
Okay. Well, how far away are we talking about?
Something under a mile.
Yeah.
7 tenths, 6 tenths,
Yeah.
8 tenths of a mile.
Are you going to make some turns in that distance?
I don't know where, I don't know.
You don't know where that
Yeah.
location is?
I know where Street Street is, I do not know where Lee Street is.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Sorry.
No further questions.
Recross.
This is State's Exhibit 6 or Defense Exhibit A. When we go to State Street, we've now gone almost half a mile. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. And it gave a data point, didn't it? It sent a data point at 0 miles an hour. Is that accurate?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, 0 miles an hour.
Mile per hour.
Yep. And it picks up just 1 minute later at 38.6 miles an hour. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And your company, that J.J. Keller system, you provided other reports to the NTSP, correct?
Yes.
And this is the previously authenticated Defense Exhibit B through Sandy.
Yes.
And this was on 11/12, Cleveland, Ohio.
Yes.
What speed did it say he's going?
0.8 miles per hour.
So the J.J. Keller system does pick up fairly low speeds. Is that true, sir?
Yes.
Thanks. No further questions.
Is the data on Exhibit 6, is that based on some sort of GPS reading? For example, how does it know
The last one,
any of them?
yes,
Otherwise,
they're tracked through a GPS system. And for our use, it would, locate the highway or the town, numerous towns, so we can track it. But then it has a capability to take that town and those pins and turn them into a latitude and longitude.
Okay.
And that's what that was on the TSP report.
Follow?
Would it be equally fair to say, sir, that there's a minimum distance you have to travel before something registers?
I don't know about the distance. What I am familiar with is the miles per hour that I believe registers. I don't know about
And
distance.
that's 5 miles an hour?
That's what I believe to be true, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Follow up, Mr. Brigham.
ranging from 7:49 a.m. to 8:18 a.m., which is the first registered miles per hour, is 29 miles. Is that accurate?
Accurate.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. All right, why don't we recess for the evening? Anything to discuss before we do?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Britton? Mr. Britton?
No, sir.
Anything
Thank
else?
you.
Okay, why don't we plan, I've got a couple of things in the morning to deal with. Why don't we plan on 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock? Yes, sir.
See y'all then. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 9 o'clock in the morning.